Good morning, I'm David Bender with the Plainsboro Township Committee, and welcome to a Spotlight Special. I'm here with Nancy Fiske, the Sanctuary Director of the Plainsboro Preserve. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning.
Nancy, I thought we could talk a little bit first about your background and your experience, what brought you here.
Sure. I've worked with natural history organizations for most of my career, and so this is a good extension of what I've done working with New York City Parks Department and with National Audubon Society, and many years with both the Staten Island Zoo and the New York Zoological Society. So most of it doing natural history education programs, and that's exactly what we're doing here. And it's such a beautiful property and beautiful location, great building and great opportunity, so I'm glad to be here.
Great. Well, can you give us some general information about the preserve, its history, the types of activities that go on here?
Of course. The preserve itself is about 1,000 acres of land, and New Jersey Audubon Society works with the township to provide programming here. And we're working on programming for all parts of the community. Part of what we want to do here is have a resource that really pulls the community together and provides a little bit of something for everyone. So it's a great place for people who want to come and just walk the trails. We have about 5 miles of trails, but we're also doing programs for preschoolers, scout groups, school groups, families on weekends. We have a lot of high school volunteers, college volunteers, and anyone who wants to get involved. We'll try to have something that will appeal.
Great. And then can you tell us about some interesting programs that you have going on or coming up?
We have a lot of things coming up. We just got a grant for our Bluebird Box project. So we've got about 100 Bluebird boxes out there and a team of volunteers.
And a Bluebird box is?
A Bluebird box is a nesting box for
Okay.
bluebirds, but they're not used just by bluebirds. We love having the bluebirds there, and we have a great population of bluebirds, which is wonderful. Going back a couple of decades, there weren't that many around, so it's nice to see their populations getting more healthy. But we get a number of other birds that use the nesting boxes too. So part of what we'll be doing is monitoring them, engaging the public in some of the monitoring as well, seeing what birds are using the boxes and how many have successful hatches this spring, and doing some programs around that, getting our camp groups this summer to go out and help with the monitoring, and by the end of fall have some baseline data so that over the next 5 years we can see what our bird populations are doing and how they change.
That's neat. And then you mentioned also some camp programs. Can you talk a little bit about the camp programs?
We have great camp programs. Our first one this year coming up since this interview will be during spring break. So during spring break, kids can come for 1 day or all 5 days and get out in the field and get really engaged. But our main camp program is during the summer. And we'll be doing programs for kids from 1st grade through 6th grade. This year we're now going to have 1 week for middle school campers, and they'll be learning everything from survival skills to how Lenapes lived on the property before Europeans started settling here, to things that fly in the air, that includes everything that can fly in the air, to things that live in the water, and they'll be getting wet a lot that week. But in August, that's actually a good thing.
Right. And all the camping is led by the staff here at the preserve?
We have a great staff of teacher naturalists, and so we'll have 2 adult teacher naturalists with each group of 20 campers, and then we also get high school students who have an interest in natural history or teaching and education to come and be volunteer counselors with us during the summer as well. So any high school kids who want to volunteer, we have a lot of opportunities here.
That's terrific. Well, I guess can you talk a little bit more about that, the volunteer opportunities or other ways to participate?
Yeah. We have high school volunteers, which I've mentioned. We also have adult volunteers, and we have associate naturalists who are volunteers. And the high schoolers come after school or on weekends. They help with animal care, trail maintenance. Some of them actually are doing computer work for us and getting information and data about our programs into the computer. So again, we have a lot of jobs that need to be done and a lot of ways for people to be involved. Our adult volunteers will do everything from covering the front desk to helping to design programs. And our associate naturalists, rather, are people who have a real special interest and special skills. Some of them are birders, some of them really know mushrooms or tree identification, and they will do weekend programs for us that are open to the public. So they help us to really be able to broaden the types of programs that we can offer to the public.
That's really interesting. That's really neat. And so I guess, can I ask you about, I guess you and I are both a little bit new in our positions.
Yeah.
I've been on the Township Committee for about 6 months now, and I
And I've
understand
been here
you're
about
also,
6 months or so too.
So how have you found your experience so far? Any things you didn't expect or unexpected joys in the job, or how are you finding it?
I'm loving it. I love the Plainsboro area, and there's been just a real spirit of cooperation among the different parts of Plainsboro, from the mayor's office to the parks department and recreation activities. And it's nice to be part of a network that's providing programming for the general Plainsboro area.
Right.
And we do get people from a lot of the surrounding towns and schools from surrounding towns. So that's been a very nice thing to discover, that there is that real sense of community here.
Right. And you know, I was thinking about it. Can you talk a little bit about the, you mentioned it's sort of a jointly run, the preserve is sort of a jointly run entity by New Jersey Audubon, Plainsboro Township, and
actually
Middlesex County?
Middlesex County too.
Can you talk about the way?
Part of the property is owned by the county.
Okay.
And the county and the township kind of contract together so that the township has overseeing rights to the whole property, and then they contract with New Jersey Audubon to run the programs, maintain the trails, and provide the educational element on the property. So that also is a nice community kind of effort.
Right. And do other communities nearby have a similar type of preserve?
It's not
or
unusual to have that kind of joint cooperative effort. Very often properties that people want to maintain as open space are owned by the towns or townships, but they don't have the staff or desire to be responsible for running the whole program. So there are other places that are similar, but we're really happy to have this one here.
Well, sure, and I guess in terms of scale, this is
for
more
New
extensive.
Jersey Audubon, this is considered one of our gems in the New Jersey Audubon program. And the central location in New Jersey makes it very convenient. We often end up with meetings for other environmental groups taking place here that we're happy to cooperate with, and they're able to bring in their staff from around the state and have a central meeting place. So we get seen and appreciated by a lot of other environmental groups besides New Jersey Audubon and local entities. So it's a nice draw.
Right. You know, the preserve is so extensive, and I was, if you're new to the preserve, what is a good way to get acquainted with the, you know, what's a good introduction to the preserve? What are some ways to start out?
Well, the building is open every day but Mondays, and we have staff here that are always willing to talk to people about what's out on our trails. And you're right, it is extensive. We've got the 1,000 acres. We have a beautiful lake in the center of it. And the best way to discover it is to just come and get one of our trail maps and start walking.
Get out there and walk.
But we have wetland bog areas with some endangered species plants. We have forest areas that have been growing up since the days when it was a dairy farm. And so we now have maturing forest areas, open fields, a lot of underbrush where the deer haven't eaten it. And so you get a real variety of habitat areas. and that means a variety of wildlife as well. And I think people who live in the area and haven't been here are surprised to find out that we have an active beaver family. We get otters coming in.
Wow.
You know, besides the red fox and
Right.
occasional coyote that might wander through. But actually, we have 2 red fox dens that are not far from the building, so we do see them reasonably often,
Right.
which is nice. And then, of course, a really diverse bird population.
Sure. So are there any portions of the preserve that you particularly enjoy, or cool animals that you really enjoy seeing? You know, what are some of your favorite
things
elements here? Yeah.
I think just getting onto some of the trails that go into the woods, and then Maggie's Trail, which comes out onto the point into the lake.
Okay.
And you get such a real, like, dioramic view of the lake and the building, but, you know, really good wildlife viewing from there, and just a beautiful kind of vista. We get people who come, and I've been told by some of our visitors, they come towards the end of their day on their way home just to walk out and look at the lake and have a few moments of peace before going on to the rest of their day.
Right.
And it is that. You get out onto Maggie's Trail or some of the places where you can really kind of gaze at the lake, and it is just calm and peaceful.
That's very nice. That sounds nice, actually. I think I'm gonna
I have to get out on the trails
try
more.
Maggie's Trail. I think, yeah. And so you mentioned the volunteer opportunities, and if people did want to become a volunteer or to otherwise get involved, how do they contact the preserve?
Easy. Just give us a call. Go onto the New Jersey Audubon website, and under centers, come to our center, and there's a place to just send us an email or stop by anytime we're open. And we have volunteer application forms so that we can learn a little bit about the volunteers and what their interests are. We meet with volunteers or potential volunteers to find out what kinds of things they would enjoy doing. And then we have short training so that they know what goes on here and feel prepared to answer questions if the public is asking questions, and we get them set up. Sometimes it's kind of shadowing existing volunteers so they get familiar with certain tasks, and sometimes it's just setting them up on their own project and getting them started on things. But we welcome volunteers, and we have a small staff, so our volunteers really allow us to do so much more than we could if it was just staff time.
Great. Well, I appreciate your time, Nancy, and thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. You have to come by more often.
Definitely.
Walk out on the trails
Maggie's
with
Trail.
us. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'm David Bander. Thank you for watching the Spotlight Special, and tune in again soon for the next Spotlight Special.